Hello, ladies and gents, and welcome to another episode of Cycling Insider. In this episode, let's talk about a new superbike from Giant, in my opinion, and it's going to be the 2022 Giant TCR Advanced Pro 1. But before we start, if you haven't already subscribed to this channel, please do subscribe and hit that little like button, because it's going to help in growing the channel. And for all of you who are already a subscriber, then definitely thank you. So, as I was saying, 2022 Giant TCR Advanced Pro 1. I'm calling this bike a super bike because you're gonna see when we dive into the specifications and when we consider the retail price of this bike, I truly believe it's an excellent value for money. So, first thing first. Who is this bike for? So you see, when we talk about Giant TCR platform, this is all about lightweight climbing stiff machines. Giant TCR is an absolute legend when it comes to lightweight climbing machines, and Giant has a huge knowledge and heritage in producing super quality carbon fiber frames and the forks. So if you are in the market for a climbing lightweight bike, definitely check the Giant TCR platform. When it comes to the paint schemes on this bike, depending on the market where you are, you will have two choices. One is this very classical metallic black with kind of hints of another, matte black. So nothing special here, pretty classical black combination. But also there is another paint scheme available if you are in the European market, which is basically called Supernova. It's absolutely beautiful. It's a metallic silver, and I think that this Supernova paint scheme should be offered on all of the markets. So if you can get your hands on a European version with the Supernova paint scheme, I think it's just much better than this very classical matte black, metallic black. But it is what it is. Speaking about the retail price, you see, at the moment of recording this video, Giant still hasn't confirmed all the pricing for the US market, so I'm speaking here about the retail price of 4,200 British pounds, or if you are in the Europe, 4,100 euros. So expect easily that the price in US is going to be again about 4,200 US dollars. So definitely, not a cheap bike, but as I say, we will see when we dive into the specifications that, in my opinion, this is still a great value for money. So let's kick off things with the frame and the fork on this bike. So the frame is advanced grade carbon fiber frame from Giant, and also the fork is advanced grade carbon fiber fork. This fork is a full carbon fiber fork, carbon fiber steerer, and also the Giant's own overdrive 2 system. Both frame and the fork, ready for the internal cable routing, flat mount disc brakes, and 12mm through axles. You will also see that Giant didn't go, wild with internal cable routing, and I'm so glad, because in today's world there's a lot of bike manufacturers who try to integrate all the cables through the handlebar and the stem, and then it just becomes a total mess. So as you see here from the images, Giant has still left a few cables hanging out, but I think it's perfectly fine, and don't worry about the aerodynamic performance of these cables. Now let's also mention here that when it comes to carbon fiber frames from Giant, you are getting a lifetime warranty, and carbon fiber frames 10 years warranty. So both carbon fiber frame and the fork absolutely superb. There's no complaints from me. Let's talk about some smaller pieces, handlebar and the stem. I'm glad here that the Giant went with separate pieces for the handlebar and the stem. So the handlebar is the Giant Contact SL, and the stem again Giant Contact SL. Both parts are aluminum parts, perfectly fine, no problems here. But as I say, since these parts are separate pieces, they are not a proprietary piece, so it's very easy to replace or upgrade in the future. And also, if you wanna finally tune the position on the bike, it's super easy, because again, separate pieces, easy to tune. Now let's talk about the saddle. Saddle is a Giant Fleet SL saddle. I'm expecting this saddle to be a decent saddle, but if you don't like it, since saddles can be a personal preference, it's easy to replace and just put any saddle that you truly love. Seat post, of course, Giant didn't cut corners here. This is the Giant carbon fiber seat post, great addition, it's a must in my book because carbon fiber seat post is going to soak up so much of the smaller road bumps. Now let's talk about the group set on this bike. So you are getting a superb Shimano Ultegra mechanical group set. So this is Shimano's Ultegra 11-speed group set. So everything from the shifters, front mech and the rear mech, everything is Shimano's Ultegra mechanical. Just keep in mind here that the rear mech is the Shimano's Ultegra short cage. So the maximum cassette that it can accept is 30-tooth cassette. So in the future, if you want to mount a bigger cassette on this bike, you'll also have to change the rear mech on the bike. So just keep that in mind. When it comes to the braking performance, again, superb Shimano Ultegra hydraulic disc brakes. They are with the Shimano's Ultegra braking rotors front and the back, and 160mm braking rotor at the front, but unfortunately 140mm braking rotor at the back. So this is a bit of a disappointment for me because I don't know why Giant did it. They should have used 160mm braking rotors at the back just because of better heat dissipation and better braking power. So this would be the first thing in the future that I would replace on this bike, to put a 160mm Ultegra braking rotors. When it comes to the cassette and the crankset, you are getting Shimano's Ultegra cassette, 11-speed cassette, and this is 1130 cassette, and it is paired with the Shimano's Ultegra crankset, a 5236 crankset. As it is in this combination, I'm not expecting any problems in climbing any steep mountains, but as I said, if you want to do 1132 cassette, for example, or 1134 cassette at the back, you will also have to change the rear mech on this bike. Also here with the crankset, you are getting Giant's own Power Pro power meter, which is absolutely superb. So for a retail price of about 4,200 British pounds, 4,100 euros, you are getting also a power meter with your bike. Absolutely one of the highlights of the bike. And the chain on the bike, it's the KMC X11 SL chain. So, okay, they didn't use the Shimano Ultegra level chain. I have no problems here. This KMC X11 SL chain is a superb chain. And once when you destroy it, if it really bothers you, you can always buy a Shimano Ultegra level chain. As it is, cassette, crankset, chain, everything superb, absolutely no complaints here, and definitely a highlight is that you are getting a power meter included with the bike. As I mentioned before, it's a press fit bottom bracket on this bike. This is Shimano's press fit bottom bracket, and I'm absolutely expecting no creaking noises, just because Giant knows what they are doing when it comes to precise carbon fiber frames. Now let's talk about the wheel set on this bike, because I think again it's one of the secret sauces and highlights of the bike. So this is a carbon fiber wheel set from Giant. So Giant SLR 142 carbon fiber wheel set. If you would buy this wheel set on the open market, you would pay 500 British pounds for the front wheel and 700 British pounds for the rear wheel. So you see, definitely not a cheap wheel set, but it's just a superb wheel set from Giant. So briefly about some specifications. As I said, carbon fiber wheel set. It comes with the Giant's hookless rim type. It also comes with tubeless ready. So Giant has already prepared the wheel set to be tubeless ready, as it is on the bike. 42mm is the rim height, and the internal rim width is 19.4mm. Personally, I wish that they've increased a bit the inner rim width, but okay, 19.4mm is just kind of a standard in this line of the wheels. When it comes to the hubs, these are Giant own hubs, sealed cartridge bearings, and the rear hub is with a ratchet drive 30-tooth system. Of course, this wheel set is ready for the center lock disc brakes and 12mm true axles both front and the back, and the spokes on these wheels are Sapim CX race spokes, 24 front and the back. Also, the total weight of this wheel set is only 1,452 grams, so extremely light carbon fiber wheel set from Giant. Absolutely superb. I definitely have no complaints about it. This wheel set is wrapped in Giant Gavia coarse tires. So as I said, a tubeless tire. This is a 25mm tire out of the box, although Giant is saying, that effectively it's a 28mm tire. Okay, I believe them, but I still wish that they included out of the box a 28mm tire. So for example, in the future, I would definitely, when you destroy these tires, of course, I would just buy myself a 28mm tire immediately, just because you always have a lot more air volume inside and the ride is going to be so much more smoother. Also, Giant on this bike is including, a computer mount, and I forgot to mention that the frame and the fork can accept the tires all the way to 32mm wide. And tires, the wheels are already tubeless set up from the factory. You are probably also asking yourself, so what's the total weight of the bike? So I got some info from Germany that in the size medium large the bike should be around 7.5 kilograms, which is absolutely superb, and definitely I have no complaints about it. So in a summary, do I have any special complaints about the whole bike, considering the retail price of 4,200 British pounds or 4,100 euros? I would just mention that this rear braking rotor, which is only 140 millimeters, this is the thing that bothers me, because I think Giant should have included 160 millimeter braking rotors. Except from that, I think this is a superb bike from Giant, excellent value for money, and I will just mention some of the highlights. Carbon fiber wheel set from Giant. Also, you have a full Shimano Ultegra mechanical group set, and you also get a power meter included on this Shimano Ultegra crankset. And as I always say, carbon fiber frames and forks from Giant are absolutely superb. And one more thing, I'm glad that Giant didn't use some kind of integrated cockpit here. So basically your handlebar and the stem are separate pieces. There is no proprietary pieces here, so it's easy to replace and upgrade in the future. So an absolutely superb bike, Giant TCR Advanced Pro 1 for the 2022 season. So I think this is going to be it for today. I hope you like what I'm doing, and if you do, please do subscribe and hit that little like button. And as always, I will see you in the next episode very soon. Cheers!